The planet Eloria was a world of beauty beyond words. Its skies glowed soft purple at dawn and burned gentle pink at sunset. Crystal forests stretched across rolling hills, and their branches sang when the wind touched them. The air was thin and sweet, and the gravity was so light that even the smallest creatures could float on the breeze. The Velothri had lived on this paradise world for 10,000 years. They were beautiful beings. Their bodies were thin and delicate, like glass sculptures brought to life. Their skin glowed with soft bioluminescent light that changed color with their emotions. Blue for peace, gold for joy, white for love. They looked like crystalline moss, with wide dark eyes that reflected the stars. The Velothri had never known war. They had never needed weapons. Their world gave them everything they needed, and they spent their long lives creating art, composing music, and building temples of crystal that reached toward the heavens. They believed that all intelligent beings in the universe must be like them, peaceful, gentle, kind. They were wrong. High luminary Scifiers stood on the balcony of the Grand Temple and watched the sky burn. He was old, even by Velothri standards. His glow had faded to a soft silver, and his wings no longer carried him as high as they once did. But his mind was sharp, and his heart was heavy with fear. The Kreth had come. Their ships filled the sky like a swarm of black insects. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They blocked out the stars and cast shadows across the crystal cities below. The Velothri had received their first transmission 3 days ago. The message was simple and cruel. You will serve the Dominion. You will work. You will obey. Resistance means death. The Kreth were slavers. They moved from world to world, conquering the weak and adding them to their empire. They had no art. They had no music. They had only hunger and cruelty, and an endless desire for more. Scythrur had tried to reason with them. He had offered trade. He had offered friendship. He had offered everything the Velothri had. But the Kreth did not want friendship. They wanted slaves. The first attack came at dawn on the second day. Kreth soldiers landed in the outer cities. They were horrible creatures. Their bodies were covered in hard black shells, and they walked on 6 legs like the insects they resembled. Their eyes were cold and empty. They carried weapons that burned and cut and killed. The Velothri could not fight back. They had no soldiers. They had no weapons. They did not even understand how violence worked. Some tried to run, but where could they go? Others tried to hide, but the Kreth found them. The screams echoed through the crystal forests, and the beautiful singing branches fell silent. Scythrur watched his people die, and he felt something he had never felt before. Despair. Total and complete despair. His glow flickered and dimmed until it was barely visible. His species was going to end. Everything they had built, everything they had dreamed, gone. But then he remembered the old stories. Deep beneath the Grand Temple, there was a chamber that no living Velothri had ever entered. It was sealed by doors of ancient metal, and the writings on those doors were in a language that predated their civilization. The precursors had built it long ago, before they vanished from the galaxy. The legend said that inside the chamber was a device, a beacon, and if the Velothri ever faced extinction, they were to activate it. The beacon would call for help. Scythrur did not believe in legends. He was a man of reason and science. But reason and science could not save his people now. So he descended into the darkness beneath the temple, past chambers filled with ancient relics, past halls that had not seen light in millennia. He found the sealed doors and pressed his hand against them. They opened. The chamber inside was small and simple. In its center stood a pedestal, and on that pedestal sat a device made of metal and crystal. It was covered in dust, but when Scythrur touched it, it began to glow. Symbols appeared in the air around it. Words in a language he could not read. But somehow, he understood what they meant. Call the allies. Light the beacon. Help will come. Sci-Fi activated the device. A beam of pure white light shot upward through the temple, through the sky, through the atmosphere, and into the void of space. It was visible across the entire planet. The Velathri looked up from their hiding places and saw it. The Kreth looked up from their slaughter and saw it too. They did not know what it meant, but it made them uneasy. The beacon pulsed once, twice, 3 times. Then it was silent. Sci-Fi climbed back to the surface and found his people gathering around the temple. They were scared and confused and desperate. They looked at him with hope in their eyes, and he did not know what to tell them. He did not know if the beacon worked. He did not know if anyone would answer. He did not even know if the precursors had been real. Pray, he told them. Pray for salvation. So the Velathri prayed. They knelt in the crystal temples, and in the burning streets, and in the forests, where they hid from the Kreth. They prayed to gods they were not sure existed. They prayed for angels to descend from the heavens and save them. They prayed for beings of light and peace and infinite kindness. 3 days passed. The Kreth continued their conquest. More cities fell. More Velathri died or were taken as slaves. The ships in orbit prepared for the final assault. Soon, there would be nothing left. On the 4th day, something answered. A hole opened in space. Not a normal hole, but a tear in reality itself. Energy crackled around its edges. The Kreth scanners went wild with readings they could not understand. Their commanders shouted orders and prepared their weapons. Something emerged from the hole. It was a ship, but it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not elegant or beautiful. It was blocky and angular and covered in thick armor plates. Scars marked its hull from countless battles. Weapons bristled from every surface. It looked like it had been built for one purpose, and one purpose only. War. More. Ships followed. 1, 5, 20, 50. They moved into formation with mechanical precision, their engines burning with blue fire. They did not respond to the Kreth hails. They did not announce themselves. They simply waited. Sci-Fi stood on his balcony and watched these strange vessels arrive. His glow flickered with an emotion he could not name. Hope? Fear? Both? Then a transmission came through on all frequencies. A voice spoke in a language the Velathri translation system struggled to process. When it finally rendered the words, Sci-Fi felt his heart stop. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Nations Space Command vessel Adamantine Resolve. We received your distress beacon. We are here to help. The Velathri had prayed for angels. They had received something else entirely. They had received humans. The shuttle that descended from the human warship was as ugly as its mother vessel. It was a box of gray metal with stubby wings and no grace at all. It landed in the courtyard of the Grand Temple with a heavy thud that cracked the crystal tiles beneath it. Steam hissed from its engines, and the smell of burnt fuel filled the air. High Luminary Sci-Fi waited with his council of elders. They were the last leaders of the Velathri, the only ones who had not been killed or captured. Their glows were dim with exhaustion and fear, but they stood tall and tried to look dignified. These strangers had come to help. The least the Velathri could do was greet them properly. The shuttle's door opened with a mechanical groan. The first human stepped out, and Sci-Fi felt his heart stop beating. The creature was massive. It stood nearly twice the height of an average Velathri. Its body was thick with muscle and wrapped in strange fabric that covered everything except its face and hands. And that face. That terrible face. 2 small eyes set forward like a predator. A nose built for tracking prey across vast distances. And a mouth full of teeth designed for tearing meat. The human smiled, and Sci-Fi saw those teeth clearly. sharp ones in front for cutting, flat ones in back for grinding. This was a creature that ate other creatures. This was a killer. More humans emerged from the shuttle. There were 12 of them, and they carried weapons. Real weapons. Devices of metal and plastic that looked like they could cause tremendous harm. The humans moved with an easy confidence that spoke of violence held in check. These were not diplomats or scholars. These were warriors. The lead human approached Sci-Fi and stopped a few paces away. Up close, it was even more terrifying. Its skin was thick and tough, colored a brown shade that suggested exposure to intense radiation. Its body radiated heat like a furnace. When it breathed, its chest expanded to pull in huge amounts of air. "I am Captain Elena Vasquez," the human said. Its voice was deep and resonant. "I command the Adamantine Resolve. You sent the distress signal." "We came." Sci-Fi tried to speak, but his voice failed him. One of his advisors, a young female named Sol, stepped forward. Her glow was flickering rapidly between pale blue and sickly green. We are grateful," she managed to say. "The Kreth are attacking us. We cannot defend ourselves. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We are going to die." Captain Vasquez nodded. Her expression changed in subtle ways that the Velethri could not read. Human faces, they would later learn, could display hundreds of different emotions. It was exhausting to watch. "We know the Kreth," Vasquez said. "Slavers, conquerors. We have dealt with their kind before." She looked up at the sky, where the Kreth ships still gathered. "They will not take this world. You have my word." Sci-Fi finally found his voice. What are you?" The question seemed to amuse the human. "We are humans. From Earth, Sol System. You probably have not heard of us. We only started exploring beyond our system a few decades ago." Earth. Sci-Fi accessed his personal database and searched for the name. When he found the entry, his glow went completely white with shock. His legs buckled, and he would have fallen if Sol had not caught him. "What is wrong?" Vasquez asked. There was concern in her voice. Genuine concern. Sci-Fi held up his hand, projecting the holographic data from his database for all to see. The information scrolled past in glowing letters, and with each new fact, another Velethri elder collapsed or cried out in horror. Earth. Third planet from a yellow star. Class 12 Deathworld. The classification alone was enough to cause panic. The galactic standard for habitable worlds ranged from Class 1 to Class 15. Class 1 was a perfect paradise. Class 15 was a hellscape where nothing could survive. Most spacefaring species evolved on Class 2 or 3 worlds. A Class 12 was considered barely survivable, but the details were worse. Surface. Gravity. 9.8 meters per second squared. This was more than twice the gravity of Eloria. Humans had evolved under crushing weights that would break Velethri bones. Atmosphere. 78% nitrogen. 21% oxygen. Oxygen. The gas that caused fires. The gas that corroded metal. Humans breathed pure poison with every breath. Temperature range. -89 degrees to 57 degrees Celsius. Extreme variations that would kill most species instantly. Water coverage. 71%. The planet was flooded with a corrosive liquid that humans swam in for recreation. Natural disasters. Earthquakes. Volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, tsunamis, tornadoes. The planet was constantly trying to kill everything on its surface. Ecosystem. Millions of species competing for survival. Every creature evolved to hunt, fight, or flee. Predators at every level of the food chain. Parasites, diseases, venomous animals, poisonous plants. The humans had evolved on this nightmare world. They had not just survived, they had conquered it. They had become the apex predators on a planet designed to create apex predators. Thureth saw, read the historical data, and began to weep. They have been fighting wars among themselves for their entire existence. Millions of years of constant violence. They invented weapons that can destroy entire cities. They used these weapons on their own kind. They domesticated wolves, another elder whispered. They took predators and made them into companions. They ride on the backs of prey animals for sport. They consume capsaicin, the pain chemical, for pleasure. Scythe stared at Captain Vasquez with new eyes. This was not just a stranger from another world. This was a creature forged in hell, a being whose ancestors had fought and bled and killed for millions of years just to earn the right to exist. Every human alive was the descendant of survivors, warriors, killers, and now these demons stood in the crystal temples of Eloria. Vasquez watched the Velothri react to the information about Earth. She did not seem offended or angry. Instead, she looked sad. "I know what you must think of us," she said softly. Her voice was gentle now, careful, like she was speaking to frightened children. "Your world is beautiful, peaceful. You have never known violence. We have known nothing but violence. Our planet tried to kill us every day for 4 billion years. We learned to fight back. We learned to survive." She knelt down so she was closer to Scythe's height. The movement was slow and deliberate, meant to be non-threatening. Up close, he could see something in her eyes that surprised him. Not cruelty, not bloodlust, something else. "But we also learned something else," Vasquez continued. "We learned to protect. We learned to love. We learned that the universe is cold and dark and dangerous, and that gentle things need fierce guardians." She reached out slowly and took Scythe's trembling hand in hers. Her skin was rough and warm. "You called for help. We came, not to conquer you, not to use you. We came because no one should face extinction alone." Scythe looked into the eyes of this creature from a death world. This predator. This warrior. And he saw something he had not expected to see. Kindness. "The Kreth are coming," Vasquez said, standing up. Her voice hardened. The warrior returned. "They think you are helpless. They think this will be easy." She looked at her soldiers, and they looked back at her with fierce determination. "They have never met humans. They do not know what we are capable of." Her smile returned. Those predator teeth gleamed in the purple light of Eloria's sky. "Let us show them." The Kreth High Commander Vrexus stood on the bridge of his flagship and studied the strange vessels that had appeared in Eloria's orbit. His compound eyes processed the sensor data, and his mandibles clicked with confusion. These ships were small, fewer than 60 vessels compared to his 300. They were ugly and primitive, covered in thick armor like animals hiding inside shells. The readings indicated that the crews inside were warm-blooded, carbon-based lifeforms. Soft bodies. No natural weapons. No exoskeletons. Easy prey. Vrexus had conquered 47 worlds in his career. He had enslaved 12 different species. He knew weakness when he saw it, and these newcomers looked weak. Their ships had arrived through some kind of unusual jump point, but technology alone would not save them. Numbers would decide this battle, and the numbers favored the Kreth. He opened a channel to the enemy fleet. "Unknown vessels. You are interfering with a Dominion acquisition operation. Leave this system immediately or be destroyed." The response came seconds later. A female voice, calm and steady. "This is Captain Vasquez of the Terran fleet. The Velothri are under our protection. Withdraw your forces or face the consequences." Vrexus laughed. The sound was harsh and grating, like metal scraping against metal. "Terran, I have never heard this name. You are a small fleet making a big mistake. We will add your species to our collection. You are welcome to try." The channel closed. Rexus gave the order to attack. 300 Kreth warships surged forward. Their plasma cannons charged. Their missile bays opened. The Dominion had crushed countless enemies with this formation. It had never failed. The Terran ships did not retreat. They did not scatter. They simply waited. When the fleets were within weapons range, the Terrans made their move. And everything changed. The human ships accelerated. Not slowly, not cautiously, but with sudden violent speed that should have been impossible. They pulled turns at angles that would have killed any Kreth crew. They moved like predators, weaving through the plasma fire with terrible grace. Rexus watched his targeting system struggle to track them. What is happening? How are they moving like that? His science officer ran calculations and went pale beneath his chitin. "Commander, the acceleration readings? They are pulling 9 gravities. 10. 11. No known species can survive such forces. But the humans survived. They not only survived, they fought. The first Terran volley tore through a Kreth cruiser like it was made of paper. The humans did not use plasma weapons. They used kinetic projectiles. Simple metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. Against the Kreth shields, which were designed to absorb energy weapons, the projectiles were devastating. They punched through armor and exited the other side, leaving trails of fire and debris. The second volley destroyed 3 more ships by the time the Kreth returned fire. 7 of their vessels were dead in space. The battle devolved into chaos. The Kreth had always relied on superior numbers and overwhelming firepower. They would surround enemies, pound them into submission, and then board them to capture survivors for the slave markets. It was efficient. It was effective. That did not work against humans. The Terran ships refused to be surrounded. They broke formation and attacked from every direction. They targeted engines first, leaving Kreth ships drifting helplessly. Then they went for weapon systems, then bridges, then reactors. It was systematic, methodical, like watching predators pick apart a herd of prey animals. Rexus ordered a boarding action. If his ships could not win at range, perhaps his soldiers could overwhelm the humans in close combat. He sent his elite warriors, the best fighters in the Dominion, to capture the Terran flagship. It was the worst mistake of his life. The Kreth boarding pods latched onto the adamantine resolve and burned through its hull. 50 warriors poured into the human vessel, their plasma rifles ready. Their mandibles spread wide in anticipation of slaughter. They found Sergeant Marcus Cole waiting for them. Cole was a large human, even by Terran standards. His skin was dark brown, his head was shaved smooth, and his eyes held the cold focus of a born killer. He carried a weapon the humans called a shotgun. It was simple and brutal, designed to fire clusters of metal fragments at close range. He did not wait for the Kreth to organize. He attacked. The first Kreth warrior died before it could raise its rifle. The shotgun blast shattered its carapace and sprayed ichor across the corridor walls. Cole pumped the weapon and fired again. Another Kreth fell. The warriors tried to fight back. They outnumbered this single human 50 to 1. But Cole moved with impossible speed and precision. He used the ship's corridors to limit their numbers, funneling them into kill zones. When his shotgun ran empty, he drew a sidearm. When that ran empty, he drew a knife. The knife should not have worked. Kreth armor was designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles. But Cole knew where the joints were weak. He knew where the nerve clusters were located. He cut and stabbed and slashed with the efficiency of a surgeon and the fury of a demon. When reinforcements arrived, they found Cole standing in a corridor filled with Kreth bodies. He was wounded. Green blood mixed with red on the floor. His left arm hung at an angle that suggested broken bones. But he was still standing, still fighting. "Took you long enough," he said to his fellow Marines. Then he picked up a fallen Kreth rifle and went to find more enemies in space. The battle was ending. The Kreth fleet that had seemed so overwhelming was now scattered wreckage. Only 80 ships remained functional, and they were running for the edge of the system, as fast as their damaged engines could carry them. Rexus watched the destruction from his crippled flagship. 2 of his legs were gone, severed by a beam that had cut through the bridge during a direct hit. His command crew was dead. His fleet was broken, and the Terran vessels were moving to intercept the survivors. "What are you?" he transmitted on an open channel. His voice cracked with something he had not felt in decades. "Fear. What manner of creatures are you?" Captain Vasquez's response was calm and cold. "We are humans, children of Earth, and you made a terrible mistake today. We were only taking slaves. We have done this for 1,000 years. No one has ever stopped us. Someone is stopping you now." The adamantine resolve moved into position to deliver the final blow to Rexus's flagship. Its main guns charged. There would be no escape, no mercy. But then the guns powered down. "We do not kill those who cannot fight back," Vasquez said. "Your ship is disabled. Your weapons are destroyed. You are beaten. Take your survivors and go. Tell your Dominion what happened here. Tell them that the people of Eloria are protected." Rexus could not understand. Mercy? After such a defeat? It made no sense. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you spare us?" "Because we are not like you," Vasquez replied. "We fight when we must. We kill when we have to. But we do not destroy for pleasure. We do not enslave. We protect." Her voice hardened. "But make no mistake. If you ever return to this system, if you ever threaten these people again, we will not be so kind. We will hunt you across the galaxy. We will tear your Dominion apart piece by piece. And we will not stop until every slave is free and every slaver is dead." The surviving Kreth ships limped away into the darkness. On Eloria below, the Velathri watched the fires fade from the sky. They did not understand what had happened. They only knew that they were alive. The demons from the Deathworld had saved them. The message spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. The Kreth Dominion had been defeated, not by a coalition of empires, not by some ancient power awakening from slumber, by a single fleet from an unknown species called humans. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 100 different civilizations gathered in the great amphitheater of Nexus Prime. They were beings of every shape and size. Gas giants that floated in containment fields, crystalline entities that communicated through vibrations, aquatic creatures that swam in portable tanks. They had little in common, except one thing. They were all afraid of the Kreth. The Dominion had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not take. No one had ever successfully resisted them. Smaller species paid tribute to avoid destruction. Larger empires pretended the Kreth did not exist and quietly surrendered border worlds, rather than fight Dot. And now these humans had done what no one else could do. They had broken the KRETH. Ambassador Velis Thorn of the Methodar Consortium requested the floor. He was a tall being with silver skin and 3 eyes that glowed with soft blue light. His people were traders and diplomats, famous throughout the galaxy for their neutrality. "We must contact these humans immediately," he said. "We must learn their intentions. Are they conquerors like the Kreth? Will they demand tribute? Will they expand into our territories?" The debate raged for hours. Some representatives argued that the humans should be welcomed as allies. Others insisted they were too dangerous to trust. A few suggested gathering a coalition to destroy them before they became a threat. Then a new signal arrived at Nexus Prime. A ship had entered the system. A human ship. Captain Elena Vasquez stood before the Galactic Council 2 days later. She wore her dress uniform, a simple black outfit with gold trim and the insignia of the United Nations Space Command. Beside her stood Sergeant Marcus Cole, his arm now healed but still bearing scars from the battle. They were the first humans most of these species had ever seen. The council members studied them with fascination and fear. These creatures looked so fragile. Soft skin, exposed eyes. No claws or fangs or armor. How could such beings defeat the Kreth? Ambassador Velasthorn spoke first. Captain Vasquez, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we welcome you. Your actions at Eloria have been noted. We have questions. Vasquez nodded. Ask them. Why did you interfere? The Velathri were unknown to you. You had no treaties with them. No obligations. Why did you risk your ships and your soldiers for strangers? Vasquez considered the question carefully before answering. The Velathri sent a distress signal. They were facing extinction at the hands of slavers. They needed help. But why did you answer? What did you hope to gain? Gain? Vasquez seemed confused by the question. We did not do it for gain. We did it because it was right. A ripple of confusion passed through the council. The concept was foreign to many of them. Interstellar politics was a game of advantage and survival. No one acted without expecting something in return. A Kreth representative stepped forward. His name was Thaxis, and he had been sent by the Dominion to speak on their behalf. His carapace was covered in ceremonial paint, and his mandibles were trimmed with gold. He looked at Vasquez with open hatred. The Terrans attacked our fleet without provocation, he said. They destroyed our ships. They killed our warriors. This was an act of war against the Dominion. Vasquez turned to face him. Her expression did not change, but something in her eyes made Thaxis take a step backward. Your fleet was conquering a peaceful world, she said. Your soldiers were killing civilians and capturing innocents for slavery. We stopped you. If that is an act of war, then yes. We are at war. The Dominion will not forget this insult. We will gather our full strength. We will crush your pathetic species and— No, Vasquez interrupted. You will not. The single word silenced the chamber. We have spent the last 2 weeks liberating the world you enslaved in the Eloria sector, Vasquez continued. 3 planets. 12 million slaves freed. Your garrisons have been destroyed. Your supply lines have been cut. Your slave ships have been captured. She touched a control on her wrist, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the amphitheater. It showed star maps, battle reports, images of freed slaves emerging from Kreth labor camps. The evidence of human efficiency was overwhelming. This is not a war you can win, Vasquez said. We have studied your dominion. Your empire is large, but it is built on fear and cruelty. Your soldiers fight for pay and plunder. Ours fight for something else. And what is that? Thaxis demanded. Vasquez smiled. It was a cold smile, the smile of a predator who knows it has already won. Purpose. She addressed the full council now. The human race spent thousands of years fighting itself. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We came close to extinction more than once. We learned hard lessons about war and peace and the price of both. She paused, letting her words sink in. We are not conquerors. We have no interest in ruling your worlds or taking your resources. But we will not stand by while innocent people are enslaved and murdered. The Kreth have terrorized this galaxy for too long. We are going to stop them. Ambassador Velasthorn raised a hand. You propose to fight the entire Dominion? They control hundreds of systems. They have thousands of ships. Your fleet is impressive, but surely we've already sent for reinforcements, Vasquez said. The Terran Expeditionary Force will be arriving within a month. 12 battle groups, 400 warships. And this is just the beginning. The council fell silent. We do not ask for your help, Vasquez continued. We do not ask for your permission. We will do what needs to be done. But if any of you wish to join us, if any of you are tired of living in fear of Kreth slavers, we welcome your alliance. She turned to leave, then stopped and looked back at Daxis. Tell your masters what you have seen here. Tell them that the humans are coming. Tell them that we will free every slave. We will destroy every slave ship. We will tear down every slave market. And we will not stop until the Dominion is nothing but a memory. Daxis said nothing. For the first time in his life, he had no words. Vasquez and Cole walked out of the amphitheater. Behind them, the Galactic Council erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Alliances formed and broke in moments. Everything was changing. 3 species requested to join the Terran Alliance before the day was over. 7 more followed within the week. The coalition that would eventually bring down the Kreth Dominion was born in that chamber. The message spread across the galaxy, carried by traders and diplomats and refugees. A new power had risen. Hunters from a death world. Predators who fought not for conquest, but for justice. The Kreth had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. Now they were learning what fear truly felt like. The humans were coming. 5 years passed. The Kreth Dominion fell on a quiet morning in the year 2287 by Earth's calendar. There was no final battle, no dramatic last stand. The Dominion Council simply transmitted a message of unconditional surrender to the Terran-led coalition. They agreed to free all remaining slaves. They agreed to dismantle their war fleet. They agreed to pay reparations to the species they had wronged. 1,000 years of terror ended not with a bang, but with a signature on a treaty. Admiral Elena Vasquez watched the signing ceremony from her flagship. She was older now, her hair streaked with gray, and her face lined with the weight of command. 5 years of war had taken their toll. She had lost friends. She had made impossible choices. She had done things that would haunt her dreams for the rest of her life. But it was over. The slaves were free. 47 million beings from 200 different species had been liberated from Kreth labor camps and processing facilities. Some had been captives for generations. They had never known anything but chains and cruelty. Now they were learning what freedom meant. It was not easy. Many of the freed slaves struggled to adapt. They needed food and shelter and medical care. They needed counseling and education and time to heal. The coalition established relief programs on dozens of worlds. Humans worked alongside aliens to rebuild shattered lives. This part of the work was harder than the war itself. Destroying was easy. Building was hard. But the humans did not complain. They rolled up their sleeves and got to work, just as they always had. Vasquez returned to Eloria for the 5th anniversary of the first contact. The planet had changed in some ways and remained the same in others. The crystal city still gleamed under the purple sky. The singing forest still filled the air with music. But now there were human settlements scattered across the surface. Schools and hospitals and research centers. A permanent embassy. A memorial to the Velithri who had died during the invasion. And soldiers. Human soldiers patrolled the streets and guarded the temples. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. They had become part of Eloria's landscape. These strange beings from a distant death world, High Luminary Selaithvar, met Vasquez at the Grand Temple. He was very old now. His bioluminescence faded to a pale silver flicker. His movements were slow and careful. But his eyes were bright, and his mind was sharp. They walked together through the crystal gardens, just as they had done many times over the past 5 years. A human guard and a Velithri attendant followed at a respectful distance. "I have been thinking about the day you arrived," Salathvar said. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. "I remember standing on my balcony and watching your ships emerge from the void. I thought we were doomed. I thought the universe had sent us demons instead of angels." Vasquez smiled. "We are not angels. No, you are something more complicated." Salathvar stopped beside a crystal tree and watched its branches sway in the gentle breeze. "I have studied your history. Your wars, your atrocities, the terrible things you have done to each other. If I had known all of that before I activated the beacon, I might not have done it. Would you have preferred the Kreth?" "That is the question, is it not?" The old Velithri turned to look at Vasquez. "You are violent. You are dangerous. Your capacity for destruction is beyond anything we could have imagined. And yet you are also kind, compassionate. You fought and bled and died for people you had never met. How do those things exist in the same beings?" Vasquez was quiet for a moment. She had been asked this question many times over the past 5 years. By diplomats and scholars and journalists and ordinary citizens of 100 different worlds. Everyone wanted to understand the humans. Everyone wanted to know how creatures born on a death world could be both so terrible and so wonderful. She still did not have a perfect answer. "We are what our world made us," she finally said. "Earth is beautiful and brutal in equal measure. It gives life and takes it away. We learned to fight because we had to. We learned to kill because the alternative was extinction. But we also learned to love. We learned to build. We learned that survival alone is not enough." She looked up at the purple sky, so different from the blue skies of her home. "Somewhere along the way, we realized that the universe is full of gentle things. Flowers that bloom for a single day. Birds that sing for the joy of it. Children who laugh at nothing. Worlds like this one, where beauty exists for its own sake. And we realized that these gentle things need guardians. They need fierce creatures who will stand between them and the darkness. So you became guardians. We try to be. We do not always succeed. We make mistakes. We cause harm even when we mean well. But we keep trying because the alternative is a universe where only the cruel survive." Salathvar reached out and took Vasquez's hand. His grip was weak, his skin cool against her warmth. "I have lived a long time, Elena. I have seen much. But I have never seen anything like your people. You terrify me and inspire me in equal measure." Vasquez squeezed his hand gently. "Good. That means we are doing our job." They stood in silence for a while, watching the crystal trees sing their endless song. "I spoke with Marcus yesterday," Salathvar said eventually. "He has decided to retire here. He says Earth is too crowded and too loud. He says he wants to spend his remaining years in peace." Vasquez nodded. She had heard the news. Cole had been her friend and her best soldier for 2 decades. The war had taken much from him. He deserved rest. "Many humans are choosing to stay on alien worlds," she said. "We are spreading across the galaxy. Not as conquerors, but as settlers and teachers and builders. In a few generations, there will be humans everywhere. Does that worry you?" "A little. We carry our violence with us wherever we go. It is part of who we are. But we also carry our hope and our compassion and our stubborn refusal to let the darkness win." She smiled. "I think the galaxy can handle us." The twin suns of Eloria began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The crystal forest caught the light and scattered it into a million rainbow fragments. It was beautiful beyond words. Salathvar watched the sunset with ancient eyes. "We prayed for salvation," he said quietly. We expected beings of light and serenity, perfect creatures from a perfect world. Instead, you got us. Instead, we got you. Broken, violent, wonderful you. His glow strengthened for a moment, turning a warm gold. I think the precursors knew exactly what they were doing when they built that beacon. They did not design it to find the most peaceful species or the most advanced. They designed it to find the fiercest. The fiercest? The ones fierce enough to love, Sci-Fi said. The ones who would fight for strangers. The ones who would burn themselves to keep others warm. That is what the beacon sought. And that is what it found. Vasquez did not know what to say to that. So she said nothing. She just stood beside her old friend and watched the suns go down over a world she had helped save Dot across the galaxy. In 1,000 different systems, the word spread. Earth was a death world. Humans were predators. They were violent and dangerous and utterly terrifying. But they were also protectors. And in the dark spaces between the stars, in the shadows where cruel things lurked and waited, a new phrase began to spread. A warning, a promise, a prayer. The humans are watching.